Hi Mohammed. Hi, have you read about the shrinking world? What? The world is shrinking? The world is not literally shrinking. As a result of technological advances and communications, the world seemed to have become smaller. For example, in the past, it took several months to cross the Pacific Ocean by sea. Today, a flight from Singapore to San Francisco takes just about 14 hours. Oh, okay, what are the good points of a shrinking world? A shrinking world allows us to learn of events occurring in faraway places and allows us to respond to them quickly. Okay, then I also heard my parents talking about globalization. Since you know so much, what does globalization mean? Globalization can be described as a process by which the people of the world are unified into a single society and function together. Oh, so what caused globalization to occur? Well, globalization is driven by rapid technological change and an increasing connectivity and accessibility in a shrinking world. So what are some of the factors affecting accessibility and connectivity? Well, there are physical barriers, like hostile terrains, natural hazards, like earthquakes, man-made obstacles, like immigration laws and a high cost of travel, and new technologies that improve accessibility, for example, tunnels and bridges. Okay, so what are some of the good effects of globalization? Well, there is an opportunity to get acquainted with cultures of different nations, like a variety of choice for consumers, when they can buy in their local stores and supermarkets not only home-produced goods but also foreign ones. Transnational corporations create additional workplaces for local people. At the same time, it's convenient for these large corporations as well. They may locate the labor-intensive part of their production process in countries with a relative abundance of labor in order to minimize their costs. Another point is risk sharing. It's more reasonable to invest money not in one company but to create an international company with great amount of subsidiaries in various countries, so it won't have so serious consequences if one of them will not stand cutthroat competition. This cutthroat competition in the local markets between domestic and foreign producers leads to production of high-quality goods. Okay, so what are the negative effects of globalization? And we turn to the disadvantages of globalization. They are pollution of the environment. Globalization destroys cultural identity. For example, Europeans usually try to impose their customs and traditions on Asian people. Multinational corporations prefer to use cheap labor force of developing countries, for instance in Asia. And at the same time they provide their workers with bad and sometimes even awful working conditions. It's difficult for domestic producers to compete with multinational corporations, especially if it's an infant industry. To cut a long story short, globalization causes inconveniences for local companies. And last but not least is that we don't actually know to what globalization can lead. We don't realize its consequences. Oh, so what is the similarities of people from Singapore and around the world? Like China? Well, Singapore and China both have Chinese as their main group of people in the country. Chinese in both countries eat Chinese cuisine. Staple foods like rice, noodles, soybeans, wheat, vegetables and herbs are also commonly eaten in the Chinese race. Both countries also use simplified Chinese in their writing. Japanese occupation were also carried out in Singapore and China.